Libra, dear soul. Let's not waste a single moment. The age of Libra has officially begun, and a sacred door in the cosmos is opening just for you. This is not a metaphor. It is a divine energetic shift that your soul signed up for long before you were born. And if you're here now, watching this, it's because you're feeling it. Something has shifted. And it's not small. It's everything. Maybe you've been sensing a strange pull lately, a quiet urge to leave something behind. To step forward into something bigger, bolder, more true. Perhaps relationships are shifting, familiar things are starting to feel foreign, and your heart is asking questions no one around you can answer. That's not confusion. It's a calling. It's your soul remembering. And this video, this message was created specifically to meet you at that threshold. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is not your typical horoscope. This is a cosmic transmission and activation. Not from me, but through me. To remind you of who you are, what you came to do, and most importantly, why now? Libra, your journey has always been about balance, but not the kind the world has taught you to keep. This is not about pleasing everyone. It's not about blending in. This is about sacred balance, the one between your highest truth and the illusions you're finally ready to release. You didn't come here to follow the crowd. You came to set the new rhythm. You are not here to play it safe. You are here to recalibrate this world by first recalibrating yourself. And I'll be honest, this message isn't for everyone. But it is for you. Because you stayed. Because you're still listening. Because some part of you knows that everything you've been through has led to this moment. So today, we go deep. We talk about soul contracts. We talk about karma unraveling. We talk about how your life is not falling apart, it's falling into place. And yes, we will touch on your relationships, your money, your path, your alignment. But more than that, we will talk about your power. Let me take a moment to say this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you for being here. For every like, every comment, every subscription, you are not just supporting this channel. You are anchoring this frequency with me. And trust me, Libra, you're going to want to stay with me until the very last second of today's reading, because what the universe is about to reveal, it's breathtaking. As it's written, when the soul is ready, the truth appears. And I know that if you're here, it's because the truth is ready to meet you now. So tell me, beloved Libra, what did your soul whisper that brought you here today? Leave a comment below with the number 7, the number of spiritual awakening, divine guidance, and inner completion. And if this message is already stirring something inside you, go ahead and affirm. I'm ready to step into the age of Libra. Because the universe isn't just calling you. It's waiting on you. And now, let us begin. There are times in life when the silence becomes too loud to ignore, when something deep within you begins to stir without explanation. It may not speak in words, but you feel it. Like a soft pull towards something you can't yet name, or a gentle unraveling of old routines that once made sense but now feel strangely hollow. That sensation, Libra, is not random. It is the quiet voice of the universe whispering your name, not to warn you, not to test you, but to wake you. The age of Libra has already begun, and with it, a new current of energy is moving through your field. This isn't the kind of change you can schedule or control. It's the kind that arises naturally like a seed cracking open because it's time to bloom. You've waited long enough. This is no longer the season of holding back, analyzing, or endlessly preparing. This is your season of stepping forward. And though it may feel uncertain or even uncomfortable, that's precisely how you know the shift is real. You are being pulled from the center of the spiral out of the old vortex of cycles, patterns, and stories that kept you circling around your potential without truly stepping into it. Now, the spiral opens. The page turns. The next chapter begins. And the ink isn't pre-written. You are being asked to pick up the pen. For years, you may have measured right timing by what the world showed you, by what was stable, approved, understood by others. But divine timing doesn't obey the clock or the calendar. It lives in your inner resonance, the knowing that now is not just any moment. Now is your moment. It shows up as a sudden urgency to change direction, to walk away from what no longer matches your frequency, to admit what your heart has known all along. This shift often comes with symptoms that are both spiritual and deeply human, recurring dreams that feel like messages, strange surges of emotion, restlessness that can't be quieted. Even fatigue, not because you're lazy or lost, but because you're clearing space. Your inner world is making room for something that requires the full, unapologetic you. You might begin to see signs everywhere, not signs in the sky, but confirmations in your own life. The conversations that no longer flow. The roles that begin to feel tight. The places where your energy used to feel welcome, but now feel draining. All of these are indicators. Not of loss, but of evolution. And still, you might ask yourself, but how do I know for sure this is the time? The answer is simpler than you think. If it feels real, if it feels like truth, even when it's inconvenient, that is your sign. You were not created to live a life of delay. You were not placed here to be a background character in your own story. You were created to rise, to contribute, to align with a path that brings both peace and purpose. And when you do, everything around you begins to reflect that alignment. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself this: if I stopped waiting for permission, what would I begin today? Write it down. No pressure, no perfection. Just a question answered from your soul. There is a quiet kind of guidance that comes when we sit with honesty. A wisdom that says, you are allowed to begin again. Not because you've failed, but because you've outgrown what no longer fits. Even in scripture, we're reminded that renewal begins not in external validation, but in the transformation of the heart and mind. That gentle invitation still applies to listen, to soften, to begin. So if you've been waiting for a cosmic green light, consider this it. You don't need more time. You need more trust. And you already have that within you. Sometimes the hardest place to stand is not on one side or the other, but right in the middle. And Libra, that's where you've spent so much of your journey, balancing, weighing, making space for both perspectives, ensuring that peace is preserved even when it costs you your own clarity. But this moment in your evolution is not about moderation. It's about movement. You are no longer being asked to hold the scales. You are being asked to tip them toward truth, toward growth, toward the version of yourself that you were always meant to become. There is a particular kind of discomfort that arises when you start to outgrow your comfort zone. Things that once felt like home begin to feel unfamiliar. Conversations fall flat. The work that used to energize you now drains you. And people you've spent years accommodating seem increasingly misaligned. This isn't failure, and it's not chaos. It's clarity. What's shifting isn't just your environment, it's your frequency. And that frequency is now incompatible with what used to feel safe. As the cosmic energies of this new age pour into your sign, you're being invited to make a clear, conscious choice. Not between good and bad, or right and wrong, but between what keeps you small and what calls you forward. And here's the hard truth: you can't keep both. You can't remain in familiar surroundings while stepping into unfamiliar destiny. You can't keep seeking approval and expect to embody authentic alignment. The bridge you are becoming requires both feet moving in the same direction. This isn't about rushing. It's about recognizing. Recognizing when your indecision is no longer wise but stalling. Recognizing that neutrality, while noble in some seasons, can become resistance in others. The longer you delay the decision, the heavier it feels to carry. The moment you choose, even silently, even gently, life responds. Opportunities open. Guidance flows. Your energy shifts. There's a reason this phase feels so intense. When you delay your soul's truth, your body often becomes the messenger. You may feel fatigue, confusion, even a strange kind of sadness that doesn't quite make sense. That's not weakness. It's the buildup of energy that needs direction. And you get to decide where it goes. Will you funnel it back into the old patterns that keep looping? Or will you channel it into a new path that may feel unfamiliar, but is fully alive? This is a powerful time to pause and ask yourself, what am I still choosing that no longer chooses me? Then, take out a journal and write down 3 things: relationships, beliefs, behaviors that you've been holding onto out of habit or fear, not love. Be honest, but gentle. The point isn't to blame yourself. It's to free yourself. You may notice that the more you choose truth, the more your life rearranges itself around it. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. That's what the law of attraction teaches us, that your external world reflects the choices you make internally. When you align with your deeper truth, even if that truth means walking away, life opens space for something more worthy of your growth. Let yourself be supported by what surrounds you. Wear deep blue when you need courage to speak truth. Sit with lemon yellow when your mind feels clouded. Surround yourself with soft amethyst tones to stay grounded in spiritual clarity. These aren't just color theory frequencies. And sometimes, we don't need more answers, we need more attunement. You're not stuck between 2 worlds anymore. You are the bridge. You don't need to fear choosing wrong. You only need to choose with your heart open and your integrity intact. And as one sacred reminder often whispers, peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of truth. Choose that. Choose you. There comes a point on every soul's path when the universe doesn't just ask you to move forward, it asks you to choose again. Not because you failed the first time. Not because you made the wrong decisions. But because the version of you that once made those choices has evolved. And the contract you signed with your higher self, your reason for being here, is not a one-time agreement. It is living, breathing, expanding alongside your awareness. Libra, this is one of those moments. You are being invited to revisit that contract, not to rewrite it completely, but to recommit to it from the deeper wisdom you've earned. If you've noticed old people, familiar patterns, or emotional echoes showing up again lately, this isn't random. It's a checkpoint. The universe isn't trying to trap you, it's testing your clarity. Do you truly want what you say you want? Are you willing to release what you've already outgrown? Will you speak differently now than you did before? Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because now you know better. These moments come wrapped in Disgysian X reaching out, a job opportunity that looks shiny but feels heavy, a situation that flatters your ego but dims your spirit. You may be tempted. That's natural. But temptation is not the same as alignment. Choosing again doesn't mean you throw away who you've been. It means you honor how far you've come. And you allow your choices to match the frequency of your current truth, not your former fears. You don't have to be flawless to move forward. You just have to be honest. Honest about what matters to you now. Honest about what you're no longer willing to carry. And most importantly, honest about the life you're ready to build even if it looks nothing like the one you planned. In numerology, the number 6 carries the energy of healing, of stepping into responsibility not out of duty, but out of love for yourself, for others, and for the world you influence just by being in it. It invites you to become the caretaker of your own peace. The number 9, on the other hand, whispers of closure, of wrapping up cycles, of letting go with grace so you can step into what's next without dragging the weight of what no longer fits. Together, these two numbers offer you a sacred mirror. One reflects your willingness to heal, the other your readiness to let go. There's a softness that comes when you realize you're allowed to begin again. A strength that arises when you choose to do so not from urgency, but from alignment. And as you step into this next phase, the colors you surround yourself with can support that shift. Try wearing soft pinks to remind yourself to lead with compassion toward others, yes, but especially toward yourself. Let the gentle green of emerald or jade open your heart to new levels of clarity and connection. These are not just aesthetic choices. They are frequencies your body understands even when your mind is still catching up. In the quiet spaces between what was and what will be, you may hear the gentle whisper of guidance. Not from outside of you, but from within. That is where faith begins, not in a doctrine or a ritual, but in the decision to trust the path even before it is fully visible. You were created with purpose. And when you feel that inner nudge, that quiet knowing, that's not just intuition, it's a reminder of the divine agreement your soul made long before you arrived. So ask yourself, are you ready to choose again, not from fear, but from fullness? Are you willing to trust your own light more than the voices that once convinced you to dim it? If so, declare it with clarity, I choose my contract. Then pause. Breathe. And let your life begin to realign with that sacred yes. Balance has always been your language, Libra. But for far too long, the world has mistaken your balance for silence, your desire for harmony as a reason to suppress your truth. That season is over. What's rising now is not just the Libra who holds the scales, but the Libra who builds them, who no longer balances for the comfort of others but aligns for the liberation of self and collective truth. The energy of this phase is not asking you to tiptoe between opposing forces. It's asking you to become the frequency that restores equilibrium by being wholly, unapologetically you. You were never meant to be neutral in the face of misalignment. You were meant to speak beauty into the spaces that have forgotten how to see it. To thread compassion through the fractures of conflict. To hold grace, not because it's easy, but because it's powerful. And most of all, to recognize that true balance is not the absence of movement, it's the harmony of motion guided by inner clarity. This is where the archetype of the Justice card in Tarot begins to reflect your evolution. It's not just about fairness, it's about fierce truth. Not cold or punishing, but honest and healing. Justice, for you now, looks like living a life that aligns with your integrity, even if that means letting go of roles you once held for the sake of being liked, understood, or needed. When you walk in alignment, even quietly, your energy becomes a compass for those still searching for direction. Alongside justice comes the stare, a gentle reminder that your voice, your presence, your vision can serve as light for others. You don't need to be loud to be clear. You don't need to explain yourself to be worthy. You simply need to shine with intention. And when you do, your balance is no longer about preservation. It becomes transformation. In this stage of growth, one of the most powerful things you can do is protect your emotional energy. Because Libra, your sensitivity is not a weakness, it's your calibration tool. The more you feel, the more you sense when something is off. But without boundaries, that very sensitivity can scatter your focus and drain your spirit. Begin by asking yourself, where do I give out of guilt instead of alignment? Where do I say yes when I mean no? Then take time to write down the boundaries that would honor your truth, not restrict your kindness, but refine it. Protecting your energy doesn't mean pushing others away. It means making space for what truly supports your light. One practice that helps is visualizing your aura like a field, one you can open or close based on intention. If you sense overwhelm, allow yourself to gently call your energy back from any situation or dynamic that feels unclear. This doesn't require confrontation, it only requires presence. You might also experiment with daily rituals that bring your energy back to center. That could be as simple as a 5-minute walk without your phone, speaking a truth aloud in the mirror, or placing a hand over your heart and asking, "What do I need to hear today to stay in alignment?" These small choices create a rhythm of balance that no chaos outside of you can disturb. Even the scriptures remind us that peace isn't found in the crowd, but in the quiet decisions we make when no one is watching. Choosing what's right over what's easy. Choosing what's real over what's expected. That is the new kind of balance you're being called to embody, not perfection, but presence. Not symmetry, but sincerity. Libra, you're not here to keep everything in place. You're here to redefine what "in place" even means. And the more you allow your truth to guide your energy, the more your life will begin to reflect a kind of balance that doesn't just feel peaceful, it feels like home. Most people wait for permission to shine, to speak up, to choose a different life, to take the leap their heart has been whispering about for years. But Libra, you weren't made to wait. You weren't made to fit into what already exists. You were made to open what doesn't yet have a name. You are not just one among many in this moment of collective awakening. You are the threshold. The living bridge. The quiet but undeniable tide that reshapes the entire shoreline without needing to announce its arrival. Your presence, even when subtle, shifts the air in a room. the way you listen, the way you sense, the way you hold space for what is unspoken. These are not small things. These are frequencies that ripple out, unconsciously giving others the courage to meet their own truth. And when you live in alignment with that truth, not perfectly, but sincerely, you become the very example someone else didn't know they were looking for. Think of your life like a lighthouse. Not loud. Not chasing. Just rooted, radiant, real. You don't need the world to approve your glow. You only need to keep the flame alive. Because someone, somewhere, is navigating through fog, and your consistency becomes their silent reassurance. You may never know who you're helping. But every time you choose integrity over ease, compassion over comfort, truth over performance, the world begins to remember what's possible. What makes you powerful isn't perfection. It's your willingness to try again. To rise after feeling broken. To be seen even when you're trembling. The new world we're entering doesn't need people who have it all figured out. It needs people who are brave enough to walk while still healing, to lead while still learning. Your honesty is your leadership. And your everyday choices, what you consume, how you care for your body, how you speak to yourself when no one is listening, these become your offering to the collective. Start small, but with intention. Each morning, give yourself 5 minutes of presence. You might say, I choose clarity over confusion. My truth is safe with me. I do not need to rush. I am already aligned. Today, I lead with grace. My energy makes a difference. These aren't just words. They are tuning forks. Each one aligns you with the version of yourself that already exists beyond fear. Support your energy with simple acts of care. A warm cup of herbal tea to soothe the nervous system. A 10-minute breathing meditation to quiet the static of expectation. Add foods rich in magnesium, dark leafy greens, seeds, cacao to regulate stress and bring your emotions back into rhythm. Omega-3s from walnuts or flaxseed can support your brain and help steady the mental tides. None of this needs to be dramatic. It just needs to be intentional. And when you question your value, remember this: even the softest tide reshapes stone. Even a single step in truth is enough to realign an entire life. You are not a disruption. You are an invitation to live clearer, to love deeper, to lead differently. As you move through this time, know that you don't have to wait to be chosen. You already were. You don't need permission to go first. You are the door. And every time you walk through your own resistance, you make it easier for someone else to do the same. So walk with quiet courage. Let your presence speak what words never could. And trust that your life, as it unfolds in clarity, becomes the map for the future we're all hoping to remember. Libra, if you've made it this far, something within you already knows this isn't just another message you stumbled upon. This is a mirror. A moment of remembering. A gentle but undeniable reminder that you're not waiting for the world to change. The world has been waiting for you. And while it's tempting to believe that someone, somewhere, will give us the green light to begin living fully, clearly, truthfully, the truth is, you are that light. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You don't need to be completely healed or endlessly certain. What matters is that you're willing to show up for yourself with softness and with strength. Willing to say yes to what your soul has been whispering. Willing to choose again, not because the past was wrong, but because today you are wiser. You are clearer. You are ready. Everything you've heard in this message was never meant to overwhelm you. It was meant to empower you. You were never here to live according to old patterns that asked you to dim, delay, or disappear. You were here to disrupt those patterns with truth, with compassion, with quiet, grounded power. The universe isn't asking for perfection from you. It's simply asking, will you trust what's unfolding, even when it asks you to grow? Ask yourself, what would shift if I trusted that I am already enough? What doors might open if I stopped shrinking in rooms I was meant to lead? What would happen if I stopped waiting for permission, and began living from permission granted by my own soul? If even one part of this resonates, if you felt the stir, the pulse, the yes forming behind your ribs, I want you to take a deep breath and affirm it. Not for me. For you. Write it in the comments, I'm ready to step into my age. Let that be your way of saying to the universe, I'm listening. I'm awake. I'm here. And if this message met you in a way that felt personal, consider liking this video not for the algorithm, but as an energetic exchange. Consider subscribing to Zodiac Whisper Tarot so you never miss the next message that might be destined just for you. Every like, every comment, every shared moment in this space helps spread the ripple of awakening further and you become part of that wave. Remember, your presence holds weight. Your energy influences more than you realize. You are not behind. You are right on time. The soul contract you carry isn't something that activates automatically. It activates through choice. Through courage. Through clarity. And no one else can make that choice for you. So as we close this chapter together, I'll leave you with this. The world doesn't need a louder version of someone else's seat, needs the truest version of you. You hold the key. You are the opening. You are the invitation. And Libra, the universe is ready when you are.